side of the battery because it's not connected. It is an open circuit. All circuits need a power source, which it could be a battery or a generator, conductors, and a load. It actually doesn't need a load. It can just be a power source and a conductor. However, you're not going to really achieve anything with that. For example, back here, if I didn't have my light bulb in the middle of this closed circuit, the electron flow would still be occurring. It would still go all the way from the positive side straight through our wire over to the negative side, but we wouldn't be achieving anything if we didn't have a resistor like this light bulb to use the electricity to accomplish something. But most circuits that we're going to see in science, we're going to have a battery, a conductor, which is a wire to move our electrical current, and then a resistor, which is going to use our electrical flow to accomplish some sort of goal, either producing light, heat, sound, movement, something like that. Now, one thing that's important to know about electricity is electricity always wants to be grounded. What I mean by that when I say grounded is electricity always wants to go to the ground. And it will always take the shortest or easiest path to get there. For example, if we look at this lightning bolt took the shortest path to be able to touch the ground. This lightning bolt could sense that there was a tree there and that the tree was connected to the ground. So this electricity said the shortest way for me to get to the ground is through this tree that is already touching the ground, and then I can use it as a conductor to get to the ground. So electricity always wants to be grounded. So its preference is if it can reach the ground, it wants to do that more than anything else. This is why if you're ever out in an electrical storm, they say you do not want to be the tallest thing in a big field because electricity will sense that you are the tallest thing and conduct through you in order to get to the ground. If you're ever in a big field during an electrical storm, scientists recommend that you lay down on your belly and kind of like army crawl across the field to get back. Now, I said that electricity wants to take the shortest path, but that is not completely true. Electricity wants to take the shortest path and also the easiest path, as in the path that requires the least amount of work. This is called the path of least resistance. So, here's an example of two circuits. The circuit on the left, we have the positive side giving electrons. Then it goes through our light bulb and then it goes to the negative side. And then we have a lit light bulb. Here we have a short circuit. The short circuit means that we've put a path in between the light bulb, or we put the path in before the light bulb and after the light bulb. So if electricity wants to take the shortest path, that means it no longer has to travel through the light bulb. It can now just travel through this little bridge and go back to the battery. That means that our light bulb will not be lit. If you look at the circuit on the left, there is only one path for our electrons to flow. It has to go through our light bulb, light it up, and then come back to our battery. Now our electrons can go here and say, oh, I don't have to do all that work of lighting up the light bulb. I can just skip across this little bridge and go back to my battery. So that's what it's going to do. Remember, electricity also always wants to go to the ground or back to its battery. It wants to be grounded the most, but if we don't let it be grounded, then it's going to just go back to its battery. Now let's talk more about the path of least resistance. Remember, that can either mean the shortest path or the path that requires the least amount of work. Now, electricity always wants to take the path that is shortest or requires the least amount of work. Here I have a circuit set up, so we can imagine that these gray lines are wires. I want you to think in your head really hard, what path is going to be the shortest and require this electricity to do the least work? Is it going to be a path through A, C, and B? Is that going to be the shortest path with the least work? We also have another path where it can go through light bulb A and then down to light bulb B. Now let's count this. If we did our first path, it would go all the way from A to C to B and then back to the battery. So that's a little bit longer. Now, not only is it a little bit longer, but we have one extra light bulb we would be lighting up. We would be lighting up A, which is 1 light bulb, C, which is 2 light bulbs, and then B, which is 3 light bulbs. Now let's look at our second path. If we just did A and then cut across our little bridge, B, and then back to the battery. Now that's a shorter path. Now not only is it a shorter path, but it also only lights up light bulb A and light bulb B. So that's one whole light bulb C, that we don't have to light up. So that's also less work. So think in your head, or what you can do is hold up your finger and draw on the screen what the path is going to be that these electrons are going to flow in. If you drew your path like this, you are correct. In real life, if we made a circuit like this, only light bulb A and light bulb B would be lit. This is the path of least resistance for our electrical flow or electron current. It is the shorter path, and it also has less resistance because we are only lighting up 2 light bulbs instead of 3. Now let's look at another circuit. This circuit looks a little bit different, right? We still have 3 light bulbs, but the wires are laid out a little bit differently. Just like before, let's think about if there's a path that is shortest, and let's think about if there's a path that has less work for our electricity to do. Now I see 2 possible paths here. I see our first path, which goes up this way, and then it can cut across this bridge and light up light bulb A and light bulb B. And then it will go back across our bridge and then back to the negative side of our battery. Now, let's look at our second path we could possibly have. We'll start on the positive side, go down, go down, go down. We can keep going all the way to light bulb C. Then we're going to go down and it's going to continue back to the negative side of our battery. So those are our 2 possible paths. The paths that go across light bulb A and B, and the paths that go across light bulb C. Now let's talk about which one is shorter. Now clearly the path of light bulb A and B is shorter. Light bulb C is farther, and it's a longer path to get to it. But now let's talk about which path requires the electricity to do more work. Well, the path for A and B has to light up 2 light bulbs. And then the path for C just lights up 1 light bulb. So, which one do you think the electricity is going to think is more important? Is the electricity going to say, hey, I want to do A and B, I want to go across there because that path is shorter? Or is the electricity going to say, hey, I'm going to go all the way to light bulb C because that way I only have to light up 1 light bulb, it's half the work, and then I'm going to go back to my battery. Think in your head, which path is it going to take? Maybe you can trace it out with your finger on the screen. Okay, let's see what the answer is. What is our electricity going to do? Our electricity is actually going to take the longer path and light up light bulb C in order to complete its circuit. Now remember, we don't only want the path that is the shortest, we want the path that requires the least amount of work. So even though our electricity has to go a little bit farther to get to light bulb C, it is still about half of the work it would have to do if it went through A and B, because there's only one light bulb. Let's talk about birds. Have you ever seen a flock of birds perch on a high voltage power line? The reason the birds don't get hurt is because the current flows through the path of least resistance. Since a bird's body offers more resistance than the wire, current continues to flow directly through the wire without harming the birds. So basically, there is no benefit for the electricity to go through a bird and then continue on through the wire. It knows that its shortest path is just to continue along this straight wire. Now, if we look at this very silly person over here, remember how I said electricity always wants to be grounded? Well, this very silly person who's dancing with a broom, the electricity goes through the wire, through the broom, through this person, through this tree, and then to the ground. So this person just grounded some electricity through their body. So make sure if you ever see power lines that are fallen or very low power lines that you can touch, that you do not touch them, or else you are going to end up like this fool. That is all I have for you guys today. I will be back live tomorrow on Zoom. I am so sorry that we were not able to do this live today and I was having some technical difficulties, but I will see you guys tomorrow.